Welcome children, take out your real English book, part 7, chapter 4, the Luncheon. Before explaining this chapter, let me tell you that in my previous video, I have already explained how the lady met the writer and then had a lunch at an expensive restaurant at the expense of the writer who had just a mere earning. Now let's begin the story. She ate the caviar and she ate the salmon. Now the lady, what she did? She ate the caviar. Caviar is a dish and even the salmon is a fish. She talked gaily of art and literature and music. Now the lady, she talked happily about the art, literature and music. But I wondered what the bills would come. Now the narrator, as he had very little money, so he was thinking that what the bill would be. When my mutton chop arrived, she took me quite seriously to task. Now when the narrator's mutton chop came, now the lady, she took some serious talk. I see you are in the habit of eating a heavy luncheon. Now the lady she said that I think you have the habit of taking too much heavy lunch. I am sure it's a mistake and I think it's just a mistake. Why don't you follow my example and just eat one thing? Why can't you follow? Means the lady is saying all this. Lady is eating so much thing and the narrator, he has taken just saying that why can't you follow? Means the lady is saying that to writer to follow her example. Follow her example. Why don't you follow my example and just eat one thing? Now lady was she saying that why can't the narrator or the writer can't follow the lady's example and just eat one thing? I am sure you will feel ever much better for it. And the lady is saying that she would feel that if the narrator also eat the same thing as the lady, then the narrator would feel much better. I am only going to eat one thing. Now the lady, she is saying that she will eat only one thing. I said, as the waiter came again with the bill of fare. Now again what happened? Now the waiter again came and bought the bill. She waved him aside in the yeary gesture. Now the lady waved him to the waiter aside in the yeary gesture. No, I never eat anything for lunch. Now to the waiter, again the lady said that she doesn't eat anything for lunch. Just a bite, I never want more than that, and I eat more and exclusive for conversation. Now say that just a bite, I never want more than that, and I eat more than, because I have to converse, means I have to talk than anything else. I couldn't possibly eat anything more. So lady is saying that she possibly can't eat anything more unless they had some of the giant asparagus. Unless what happened? They brought the giant asparagus. Now what is the asparagus? It's a plant. Now whose stems are cooked and they are eaten as vegetables. I should be sorry to leave Paris without having some of them. Now the lady is saying that I want some asparagus, saying that I will feel very much sorry if I don't have some, without eating some asparagus from Paris, then I would feel very sorry. My heart sank. Now again the lady is ordering something. Now the narrator's heart sank. I had seen them in the shop. Now the narrator, he had seen this asparagus in the shop, and I knew that they were horribly expensive. And the narrator also knew that this asparagus, it is very expensive item. My mouth had often watered at the sight of. Now narrator always, means the writer always wanted to eat it, but as it was too expensive, he had never eaten. Madam wants to know if you have any of the giant asparagus, I asked the writer. Now the waiter asks, I asked the waiter. Now the writer asks the waiter that madam wants to know that if they have some giant asparagus. I tried with all my might to will him to say no. Now with all his might, the writer tried that, the waiter will say no. A happy smile spread over his broad priest-like face and assured me that there are some so large, so splendid and so tender that it was a marvel. But what happened? The waiter gave a happy smile and then showed that, assured that they have splendid, so large and splendid, tender. It was marvelous asparagus. I am not in the least hungry. My guest side, saying that. Now the lady, she said that I'm not at all hungry. Means the lady said that she was not at all hungry. But if you insist, I don't mind having some asparagus. Now the lady again saying that, but you are insisting me, so I don't mind to have some asparagus. I ordered them. So the writer ordered them. Aren't you going to have any? Now who is saying, aren't you going to have any? Now the lady asks that you will not have. No, I never eat asparagus. The writer doesn't have any money. So he's saying that no, I don't eat asparagus. So he said that he doesn't eat asparagus. I know there are people who don't like them. Now the lady is saying that yes, she also knows that some people who doesn't like it. The fact is, you win your plate by all the meat you eat. Saying that the fact is that you have gone through a plate that you have eaten about by all the meat that you have eaten. We waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Now what happened? The narrator and the lady waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Panic seized me and he was feeling very afraid. Narrator, he was feeling very panicked. He was feeling very afraid. It was not a question not how much money I should have left over the rest of the month, but whether I should have to pay the bill. It would be mortifying to find myself 10 francs short and be obliged to borrow from my guest. Now, it was not that narrator was not feeling that how much he would have left money that he would have to spend the rest of the month. But he was thinking, if the bill comes more than, and he finds that he had less money to pay and he had to borrow the money from his guest. I could not bring myself to do that. Now he couldn't bring himself to do that. I knew exactly how much I had and if the bill came to more. Now his narrator knew that how much he had, but he was thinking if the bill become more. I made up my mind that I would put my hand in my pocket and with a dramatic cry start up and say it had been picked. Now what happened? Narrator in his mind thought that if this thing happens, that he finds that his money is less than that. So what he would do? In such a case, he would put his hand in his pocket and in a dramatic expression, he would say that his pocket has been picked. Of course, it would be awkward. If she had not money enough either to pay the bill. Now, the narrator thinking that it would feel awkward because if the lady doesn't have enough money to pay the bill, then the only thing would be to leave my watch and say that I would come back and pay later. Then in such a case, what the narrator would do, if such thing happened that he doesn't have enough money to pay, in such a case, the narrator or the writer, he would leave his watch in the shop and then he would say that I will later come back and pay the bill. The asparagus appeared. They were enormous, succulent and appetizing. Now the asparagus came. It was too big. It was too juicy and it was too good in taste. I was the woman thrust down her throat in a large mouthful, and in my polite I discouraged on the condition of the drama in the balcony. Now the narrator was watching that how the woman was eating in his polite way. He discouraged on the condition of the drama of balcony. At last she finished the coffee. Now at last what happened? The lady finished the coffee. I said, yes, just an ice cream and coffee, she answered. Now the lady said, yes, just an ice cream and coffee, the lady said. I was past caring now. I gave the following order: coffee for myself and then ice cream and coffee for her. Now what happened? The narrator, the writer, he ordered one coffee for himself and one ice cream and then coffee for the narrator. You know, there's one thing I thoroughly believe. Now, she said, means the lady said, that lady is saying that to the narrator that, you know, there is something which the lady believes in. She ate the ice cream. One should always get from a meal feeling one and could eat a little more. Now what happened? The lady, she always have a meal. Now the lady ate the ice cream. Then one should always get up from the meal, how feeling that one could eat little more. Are you still hungry? I asked faintly. In a faint voice, the writer asked the lady that, Are you still hungry? Oh no, I am not hungry, you see. Now the lady said, no, she is not hungry. I don't eat luncheon. I have a cup of coffee. Said that I don't eat actually lunch, I don't eat. I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then dinner. And in the morning I eat, means the lady is saying that in the morning she eats only one cup of coffee. She is eating so much, but she is again saying that she eats in the morning or she drinks only a cup of coffee and in the dinner and then in the dinner. But I never eat more than one thing but in lunch she never eats more than one thing. I was speaking for you. Now the lady is saying that I was talking for you, means that writer. Oh, I see. Now the writer said that, then a terrible thing happened. Now what happened? A terrible thing happened. While we were waiting for the coffee, the head waiter came up to the bearing a large basket full of huge peaches. Now what happened? While they were waiting for the coffee, what happened? The head waiter, he came up there with carrying a large basket full of huge peaches. They had the blush of innocent girl. They had the rich tone of the Italian. Means these peaches, it was too blush. It was too rich. It was too big and rich tone of from the Italian landscape. It was brought from the Italian. But surely peaches were not in the season then. But during that, it was not. It was peaches are seasonal fruit. But it was not the time that peaches go. A little later, for my guest going on with her conversation, absent-mindedly took one. What happened? When both the narrator and the lady were talking, absent-mindedly what happened? The lady took one of the peaches. You see, you filled your stomach with a lot of meat. My one miserable little chop. Miserable little chop, and you can't eat anymore. Now, and that lady is saying that she had filled, telling the narrator that you have filled your stomach with lot of meats, and see my miserable little chop. So you can't eat anymore, but I have just had a snack and I shall enjoy it. But the lady is saying that I have eaten very less, so I will enjoy some, means I will take some peaches. The bill came, and when I paid it, I found that I had only enough for a quart. Now the bill came and the narrator paid it, and now the narrator found that he had only enough for a quite length inadequate tip. Now he had very little money left to give as a tip to the waiter. Her eyes rested for an instant on the 3 francs. Now the lady, she was again looking at constantly looking at the 3 francs which was left. I left for the waiter and knew that she thought me mean. Now he left for the waiter, and now the lady was thinking that the lady is thinking the narrator is mean. But when I walked out of the restaurant, I had the whole month before me and not a penny. But what happened when the narrator walked out of the restaurant? What happened? The whole month was left before the narrator, and all his money, means narrator didn't have a single money in his pocket. Follow my examples, he said, as we shook hands. Now both the narrator and the lady shook hands, and lady said the narrator that follow lady's example and never eat more than one thing for lunch, and never eat more than one thing for lunch. I will do better than that, I retorted. I will eat nothing for dinner tonight. Saying that I will do more than that, because that night the narrator or the writer, he would eat nothing. Humorous, she cried, gaily jumping into the cab. Now the lady cried humorously, and then happily she went into the cab. You are quite a humorist, saying that that the narrator was quite a humorist. But I had my revenge at last. But at last the narrator was able to take his revenge. I am not a vindictive man. Now the narrator thought that he was not a harmful man. But when the gods punish someone, it is pardonable to observe. Now he is thinking that when God punishes someone, it is very pardonable to observe that. The result is complacency. The result is what? It satisfies her. Today she weighs 21 stone. Now she is thinking that the lady, means the lady has made the narrator penniless, and so she is thinking that God has punished her for this reason, and so the lady is overweighted. And now read this. Now let me give you some give you the question answers of this chapter. Now, write the question answers. Take out your English 2 copy and write. Question 1. How did the lady manage to get an invitation for a luncheon from the writer? Answer. The lady had met the writer 20 years ago when the narrator had offered her for a luncheon. Taking advantage of the situation, the lady read one of the writer's book and wrote a letter to the writer praising about it. Next, before passing through Paris, she again wrote a letter to the narrator in which she wanted to have a chat with the writer and agreed to have the luncheon which he had offered 20 years ago. Question 2. It is evident that the writer was disappointed by the appearance of the lady. How do we learn this? Answer. The lady was too cunning, though she appeared to be kind and gentle, who wished to have a luncheon at the expense of the writer, who had a little earning. Question 3. The writer says panic seized. When and why did this happen? Answer. This happened when the lady wished to have an asparagus and anxiously waited for the asparagus to be cooked. On seeing such an expense, the writer thought if he finds shortage of money and had to borrow some from his guest. Question 4. Oh no, I am not hungry, you see. I don't eat luncheon. I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then dinner. But I never eat more than one thing for luncheon. I was speaking for you. Who said this? What is ironical in this statement? Answer. The lady said this. Ironical refers to the indirect way of stating a statement. Though this lines, it seems that the lady, after taking a heavy luncheon, says that she never eats more than one thing for luncheon. Question 5. Today she weighs 21 stone. Why is the writer happy that the lady is overweight? Answer. According to the writer, overweight is a curse directed by the god, as the lady has made the writer penniless by forcing him to have a luncheon at an expensive restaurant at the writer's expense. Thinking that the god has punished her, the writer feels happy that the lady was overweighted. And now write all these question answers in your copy. In your diary, write the question answers. Write the question answers of chapter 4, the luncheon, in your English 2 copy. And with this, I am ending my today's class. Goodbye.